sounds like the plot of Friends, if I'm not mistaken, which I know all of them. I don't even watch the show Friends, and they all, I'm pretty sure, had some kind of extracurricular relations. Now, I'm not accusing or assuming. I just kind of want you to dive deep into that experience.
There's nothing going on there, Jay. There's really not. It's honestly just four.
It's not true because you have
I'm playing the intro
insinuated.
music. Intro music's coming in.
We're gonna talk about it. We're talking about it.
I won't answer it.
You're soft. Jack's going soft on us.
I am. We'll bring it up in another episode, maybe. Just not now. Just not now. Just not now. All right, MVP episode 16. Jalen, how are you doing, man?
Things are great. You know, another week in the books. You know, we just keep steamrolling ahead. MVP is a freight train.
I do want to clarify. Season 1, we're projecting to stop season 1 after episode 20. Episode 20 will be our season 1 finale. That's kind of what we have tentatively planned. I want to thank everyone who's tapping in this week. In the last few weeks, our listeners have been growing at week to week, which is honestly kind of crazy. But it has happened. We now have that loyal fan base, and they're now spreading the word a little bit. And we do have a guest that's going to come on here real shortly. We're excited. This is a girl who lives down the hall from me, who I'm friends with, and she's new to Milwaukee, so she's going to bring some new perspective to the table, and I'm excited to bring her on.
Yeah, I think before we get into it, we just want to remind everyone to subscribe on YouTube, Apple Music, Spotify, wherever you're listening to this. We're on all the platforms. We're on more platforms than I'm aware of. We get analytics back. We're getting listeners on platforms that we don't even know about. We're checking the analytics, but yeah, keep the subscribers up. Keep blowing us up. Share us to your friends. Tell a friend to tell a friend. And let's get into this conversation with Olivia.
And real quick, I want to say that I read somewhere that we are the number 9 growing podcast in Milwaukee. That puts us top 10 in terms of the greater Milwaukee area. So we're now top 10 MVP. We're hitting that threshold. And I also, if you follow us on Twitter, I did say that there was some MVP chants that broke out at the Pfizer Forum when
I heard them on the TV.
Giannis was at the free throw line. I was hearing MVP for No Vest podcast, and I think maybe Giannis is a no vester. I mean, maybe we could get him on here one of these days.
Yeah, that would be insane. I think just all the people in the crowd are no vesters, as you know, by default. But yeah, I was stoked to hear that. I 100% heard that listening at home on my TV surround sound system. I heard MVP very clear.
We're gonna get in. We're gonna bring Olivia on. So just hold on 1 second. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right, we are welcoming on Olivia Anderson onto No Vest podcast. I think this is our 5th guest on MVP. This is a big deal. This is, a lot of times people say this is like the moment that they're in the spotlight. You know, this is a platform, like I said before, this is the people's platform. So we welcome on Olivia Anderson. Olivia, how are you doing tonight?
I'm so good. You guys, thank you so much for having me tonight. I'm honored to be the 5th guest.
Yeah, 5th guest.
Yeah.
Jalen, how are you doing out in Cali?
Things are well. I was just enjoying the nice weather. There's, it's picking up, summertime. It gets active, so it's a good time of year. Things are going well.
All right.
Well, how about you?
I mean, it's a beautiful day out today. It was like 80 plus degrees out. I got no complaints. It's like starting to finally feel like summertime. Golf swing's starting to look pretty sharp. So,
God,
we'll see where it goes. But okay, so Olivia, first thing I wanted to talk about, because you and I are on the same page with this. Now, I got a similar scenario. So you wanted to talk about how beef jerky prices are ridiculous. Now, I completely agree, and I actually have a story about beef jerky. So I went like 8 years with seriously not eating beef jerky at all, because after our state championship football game in the 8th grade. Now, Jalen, I'm pretty sure you remember that game. I had a pretty tough game. It wasn't one of
We
my
won't
better.
talk about it.
Well, it wasn't one of my better outings, but. After the game on the drive home, we stopped at a gas station, and I got like a big yellow Gatorade, and I got like 2 or 3 things of beef jerky, and it went down fast, and it came back up faster. I ended up like having to pull over, to the shoulder of a street, and I ended up barfing. And like, I don't know how
Rough.
you guys operate, but like when I eat a food and I get sick, like right after, I associate just the sickness with that food. So I went a very long time without eating beef jerky, but now I'm back into that market, and I will agree with you, the prices are high.
Way too expensive. It's like people don't talk about how expensive it is.
No.
Like, you probably didn't even think about how expensive it was until I was like, hey, beef jerky is way too expensive.
It really is. It's like
So
I could get a
throwing all that
burrito.
out-
I could get a burrito, or I could have a little bit of beef jerky.
No, it's like you get 3 burritos and have 1 bag of beef jerky that's like filled halfway,
Yeah.
And you
That's the
throw
other
that up,
thing.
it's probably the most expensive, like,
Oh, your parents were
Growing
pissed.
up,
They were
yeah,
pissed. They're like, "What the hell?"
you
what a
threw up
waste.
$20 of beef jerky.
I will say the beef jerky, they're similar in the way of with like the chip bag categories that they're selling you like 50% air. You know what I'm saying? And not to mention, I'm pulling out like 3 of those little
Bags of like pepper.
packets.
Yeah.
Yeah, what
Salt, yeah.
Check that, Jack. It's not pepper.
I'm pretty
Please
sure
tell
it
me
is.
you have.
I'm pretty sure it's
No,
pepper.
please tell me you have not been opening that and sprinkling
No,
it on
I
your
have not
beef jerky.
been doing that, but I'm pretty
That's
sure
how
it's
you
the
threw up.
pepper to keep the flavor. I could be wrong. I could be
No,
right.
that is why you threw up, Jack, because no, those things are like, it's to keep it like moist or something. You're not supposed to eat those at all. And you obviously opened that up and sprinkled it thinking it was pepper. And that's why you
Absolutely-
threw up.
I
That's
And that's
terrible.
why
absolutely
you
did
lost
not
your
do
state
that.
championship game. Because
Yeah.
you're peppering your already peppered beef jerky.
I'm
And
not.
Jack, back
not
on
gonna
that game, was
blame-
that your last game of your career? Did the football career end with that
Yes,
game?
it did. I had to hang up the cleats. I think I was maybe rocking like 5'0" at that point in the 8th grade. I was getting bodied by a guy who was a foot taller than me.
Yeah, we didn't have to get into it. I said we didn't have to get into it.
If
But
he's listening, I know we get a lot of listeners in the greater Milwaukee area. If he's listening, if you were, I think, number 14 on Greendale, I want to match up with you. I want some redemption here.
yeah, you want your rematch. It's only
Taco Bell
fair.
parking lot, 4:00 tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah,
Get it.
find him.
Okay, going off of what you're saying, like, you couldn't eat beef jerky for like 5 years after that or something because it just makes you think about you throwing up. That happened to me, and it happened to me recently, and I'm almost ashamed to say what it was. It was
This is a safe space. Don't worry.
okay, no judgments.
No
It was
judgments.
vegan mac and cheese.
Ugh.
Okay.
That sounds like.
was-
Did
was
you think
not
you
good.
weren't gonna throw up from eating that? Like, if I ate vegan mac and cheese, I would be like, it would be a coin flip. 50% of the time, I'd probably puke.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just from the
it was
poor
100%
taste.
down.
Did it taste good?
No, it didn't. And then I was like thinking about it a couple months later, and I just was not having it.
So
I see
Yeah.
the grocery aisle, and I'm like avoiding it. I can't look at it because it brings back. It's like PTSD.
Yeah.
yeah, that's
See-
exactly what it is.
I guess I have a similar story as well. Unfortunately, it was one of like my favorite restaurants. It was this great steakhouse that I frequent, and I went a little. Like when you go to a place, Jack. We've talked about this before. You go to places that you've been because you know what they offer. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
it's your home
You're
field.
familiar.
Yeah.
You don't need to like try new things on the menu. I made the mistake and I tried to veer off path and I tried something different. And whatever it was, it just didn't sit well with me. And then I was struggling because this was my favorite restaurant. So now it's like, do I not go and I had to give it some time. I don't know if it was about a year or 6 months to a year or something like that, but I had to give it time. And I did go back, but then I'm never straying off of what I know. I get the one thing that I know. They never fail me. I don't get sick.
So I want to bring up this question to both of you. So just going to a restaurant, people always ask me this question. And the question is, I'm going to ask Olivia first, is have you ever gone to like a sit down restaurant by yourself and had a meal, or have you ever gone to a movie by yourself? Because you strike me as a little bit of like a pretty independent, have you ever done either of those individually?
Okay, I have not. I have not sat down and had a meal by myself, and I have not gone and seen a movie by myself. But I'm not against it.
You're not against it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would go see a movie. I think that I actually made that a goal of mine to like go see a movie by myself.
Do you do like I know a lot of girls are into like I don't really know what bullet journaling is. And I've had multiple people explain it to me, and I still don't fully understand the concept. But are you one of those girls who writes down like 100 things to do this summer and like checks it off the list? Because that shit pisses me off. It's like, some of them are obscure, it'll be like make out under a waterfall. It's like, we live in Wisconsin. The amount of effort we are going to have to do in order to go underneath the waterfall, it's not worth it. Scratch it.
Too much. Scratch it. No, I don't. I mean, I feel like that was maybe something in like elementary or like middle school, maybe,
Yeah.
Like, kids call me under the bridge. That was middle school, but no, I don't do that right now.
That's good. Jack, I'm actually glad that you brought up the solo trips, because that's kind of my bag. I'm not gonna lie, and I'll one up you. I want feedback on this. I don't think any one of our followers can actually say they've done this. I'll pull up at the hibachi spot, Benihana's solo. That takes balls to pull up at the communal hibachi table solo and enjoy your meal dolo. I'm sorry, I don't think anyone's really on my level with this. So this is my lane. Movies all the time. I'm going to movies all the time by myself, because it's like I don't really want to like like when you have a movie you want to see. I don't want to convince someone to see the movie and then they don't like it. Now it's kind of on me. It's like, now it's like they're questioning maybe my movie selection. It goes deep. So I'll grab a noon on like a Sunday or something. Grab a little noon, 1:00 maybe showing, nice matinee, dolo, no problem. I'm pulling up dolo pretty much everywhere.
I would love to do that. Maybe I'll try that this summer.
I've rocked the movies by myself, and I have hit the nicer sit down restaurant by myself. Mainly out of town. I was one time when I did the sit down, I was just out of town. I was by myself, so I had to do that. But I would say the movies, there's so much pressure on a movie selection. Like if you, like I've even gone to parents with I've gone to movies with my parents or family where I've like walked out of the movie, and I don't mean like I'd walk out and like go use the bathroom or check my phone. No, I will leave the venue. I've left venues before. I know what restaurant we're going to after. I show up an hour early. I pull up to the bar, and I'm just like, and then when they see me, they're like, "You're an asshole for leaving the movie early." And it's like, well, you're an asshole for picking the worst movie I've ever seen. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna do it.
Right, and they probably enjoyed it, and that's the thing. So, movies almost that's a real personal experience to me. It's not like you're talking to anyone in the movie theater, anyways. It's like you should pick the movie you want to see. I'm with you on that.
So, Jalen, I did, we got to get our guests talking a little bit, and I told Olivia I was going to put her on the hot seat on MVP. So, we were out, like a couple weekends ago with the crew or whatever, Jackson, her roommate, Emily, shout out, and legitimately, Olivia said, and I want to take this in quotations, she would not date anyone younger than her. So wow. I want to dive in on that a little bit. What does that mean? What's the reasoning? Like, where are we going with this? Where are we going with this?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
I
is
get
that
it,
a
I get it.
factual? Is that a factual?
I mean,
statement
okay.
there?
I guess. I mean, I think. I don't know. I mean, maybe I would date someone younger than me, but their maturity level has to be like at least 10 years above their age. You know what I'm saying? They could be maybe 23, but their maturity level needs to
Has
be
to be
like
33.
maybe 30,
That's a
maybe
big.
28.
That's a
I don't
big
know.
jump.
Guys mature way later than girls.
Jalen.
Yeah,
Jalen,
they love to say that.
Jalen, where are we
I'm,
going with
I'm
this, Jay?
I mean, I think I know where you stand, Jack. I think you love to kind of shoot down a little. You love those low numbers, if I'm not mistaken. But
It's like golf.
Is
I
that true?
think I understand it's a maturity thing. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like you don't want to be on totally different wavelengths, if you
Right.
will, where you know you're just not on the same page with a lot of life situations. So I could see how that makes sense, but you know, in some cases, I could see where it could liven you up a little bit. You know, it's like maybe you're like, oh yeah, you know, 21. I remember when I was 21. You know, that was
To
fun.
you?
That was cute or whatever. No,
Fun
I'm
and
saying
cute.
this is
Young, like,
hypothetical.
young. But
Yeah,
would that
dude.
be like young and hip? Maybe.
Yeah, that could be an easy route to that. You know, it keeps you young, keeps you live. I don't
Very
know.
individualized because I have dated someone older than me who's really immature, you know? It's a case by case
It's
situation.
okay. But you
It's a
did.
case
But
by
you did
case
throw when you
situation.
threw out the statement
I did.
originally. It was
I
a
did.
massive generalization. It was not a case by case. So I'm glad we could get to
You said
the.
never.
And it was very like I will not date anyone younger than me. But I
It
also was
was.
like 3 gins and tonics deep,
Yeah,
you know?
fair,
Okay,
fair. I guess.
But I mean, like, I don't know. I'm not gonna lie. Like on, I dabbled with the Hinge, and
Yeah.
I swipe left if I see someone like 23.
So that's
That's
something.
just it's an auto swipe left. That's what
That's
you're saying.
something. That's something we have not really gotten into on MVP. And I know Jalen and I have wanted to talk about the dating apps, but it's just with just Jalen and I on here, it might get a little weird. Two guys talking about dating apps. We have not found anyone who's even willing to talk about them. It's always the massive elephant in the room. Now, my opinion on dating apps, and the reason, I've dabbled, but I'm off them because I think that people get, it's almost like they're more worried about what's going on their phone. So when they go out in public, it's like, oh, I don't need to go socialize with people because I have 5 or 6 or 7 matches on something, and I just stay off them because I think people get reluctant to meet new people because they're more concerned of boosting their online profile. I don't know.
Right. It's like less organic.
I agree.
It is. I mean, it's kind of fun. I don't know.
It's a good time waster for sure.
It's like, yeah, it's a good time waster. It's like social media. Just kind of scroll, shop a little bit, maybe.
So are there any red flags you see on the dating apps where you see something and you're like, absolutely not? Whether it's like,
Oh yeah.
is there like a picture or like, I mean, what's
Man,
something you see?
This kind of ties together with a couple of my red flags of the week. Okay, so if I see a guy and he posts pictures of him and his boys all wearing jerseys, that's the left swipe. Because that
Wow.
screams like that.
That's super fair.
If they're wearing jerseys, like I get it. Maybe if the Brewers are playing at a Brewers game, they're rocking Brewers jerseys, right on. But they're wearing like a Tampa Bay Rays jersey. No one knows who the player is on like a Wednesday. That just screams like I peaked in college.
You're talking the darty. You're talking the darty jerseys. The mismatch, obscure, like maybe the Carlos Boozer, something with like the funny name on the back. You're
Right.
saying one of those, but you're excusing the game event team
Right.
jerseys. Are you excusing those? You said.
Yes. Yeah.
That's fair.
Okay.
I would say
Because that screams like I peaked in college. Like I made like a like.
Darty.
that's
all,
fair.
Yeah,
I
darty.
think with majority, I'd say 90% of the times I see a girl in a jersey, it's a Michael Jordan Bulls jersey. And I don't know, I think that women get in their head, they're like, I don't want to buy a jersey that people wouldn't know. I need to get the most infamous basketball player of all time and rock that jersey. Like, what's so bad about like a Vince Carter, like a Tracy McGrady? Like, why is it always Michael Jordan?
You know what?
Do you think
Go
girls
ahead. I'm
know
sorry.
that? I'm sorry. Do you think girls know those athletes? I'm gonna be
No.
totally
I know,
honest.
they
I
don't.
know those two players.
They don't.
No, we know they don't, and that's the thing. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say I think we need to retire that look. We need to retire the long jersey with the short shorts and in the Air Jordans. Like, just can we just stop? Like, I don't know. I've just seen enough of it. That's just. I think it's a little bit too much.
We've started to dabble into like red flags, so I think we might as well just do the red flag of the week segment.
Yeah.
Jalen, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, I think I got a base hit in the tuck right now. This is kind of a base hit. This isn't I'm not setting this up for you guys to get on base and me to knock you in. This is just a base hit. And this one comes probably a little bit deeper in the relationship. If it comes like early in like whatever the talking, dating phases, you kind of know that this is a super red flag, but it's a red flag in the relationship phase. And I'm glad I haven't had to deal with this ever. But the location services. Now, that's a great feature for like if you lose your phone or if you maybe, things of that nature, or if you're going somewhere dangerous, you don't know, you want your people to know where you're at. But if someone just wants to be like monitoring your location at all times, that's just like a super red flag. I think that's all that needs to be said on that. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Are you saying like if your significant other had your location?
Yeah.
Or just friends? Yeah, significant other.
They like request that you have it on. They're like, oh, like, why aren't you sharing it? I want to know. Like that to me, that's just like super weird.
I agree, because then it's like you can't take that back. Because if you just decide to stop sharing locations, then you're
doing something wrong. They just have to. Yeah, exactly. And I just think it's like a thing of like, if you don't trust me enough to where you have to like, you feel the need to want to look, then it's just kind of weird. I don't know.
So,
I think it's weird.
That's a red flag. Yeah,
that's a massive red flag. I've already said my stance on this, so I don't think I need to reiterate it too much. There are two types of relationships: those that work and those that share their location. And and then I also want to get into this because this is another red flag that kind of ties into it. Is like I was actually talking to this girl who had like 300 people on Snapchat. We've already dabbled into the Snapchat issues and the red flags there. Yeah. But she was sharing her location. And it's like, do you want 300 people to just see that you're like downtown at a bar, or like people are just going to like pull up on you and be like, what the hell is that?
Yeah, that's
I don't know. Very
weird.
It
sounds good in theory, like the whole like, oh, you can see where your friend, but like I don't really want to know where everyone is at all times. That just seems too much. I don't know. I wish they kind of toned it back a little bit with the location services, but that's my base hit. We'll see what the people think. No home runs this week for the people.
No home runs. All right, I'll go next. We like to save our guests for last when it comes to the RFWs, but my red flag of the week is just someone who cares too much about. Now, I don't want to classify it into like a specific category, but you know it when you see it. And it's someone who cares too much about school or work, where it just like it takes away from like all types of like free time. And it's like, I gotta do that. You know what I'm saying? The person's always kind of busy. You know what I'm talking about, right, Jay?
Yeah, they're all business people. They have no time for fun ever, and they kind of what they do is they make you feel bad a little bit for having fun. They're like, "Oh, dude, I gotta study. Like, you're not studying. Like, it's like, yeah, no, I'm not. Like, the game is it's a playoffs. It's game 7. Like, it's like they take no breaks, and it is a little bit stressful, and they don't have any fun. It's like, come on.
I agree. Or they like make you feel bad for like asking. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
It's like,
I have this test. It's like, no, I didn't.
Right.
Not
No,
paying attention to your schedule. Yeah, that I agree. When they try to flip it on you, and that's what happens a lot.
that's truly the worst. And then you don't know, like, if it could be like an excuse to not do something. You know what I'm saying? How, like, people use their kids as an excuse all the time. It's like, oh, I would totally go out with you and have a blast. Oh, we get so wasted this weekend, but we just couldn't find a babysitter. We gotta, Timmy, he doesn't like. We gotta stay home. People use their kids as an excuse. It's like, how often are people using like work or school or studying is just like an excuse to get out, like to stay. You know what I'm saying?
Stuff. Or their dog, using the dog as an excuse.
Using the dog. Yeah.
Oh,
It's like 10 o'clock. I gotta go home. I gotta go let the dog out.
Jalen's one of those guys.
no, I do have a dog, and that's the thing. I'm super against it. I don't get it. It's like, oh, my dog's been, it's been 6 hours. She's been all by herself. It's like, I'm all by myself in this damn apartment all the time. It's like, your dog's fine. It's a nice apartment. It's got nice stuff to chill. They probably have food and water. It's like, it's gonna be okay. The people that are like, that either have to bring it everywhere, or it's like, oh yeah, they can't go anywhere because they have to go like let their dog out. It's like, they're gonna be okay. Trust me.
Yeah, but they do have this thing where you can, it's like Ring, but you can see your dog.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen
Like
that?
the little nanny cam type.
Yeah.
And you can like auto feed your animals.
Yeah.
I just feel like there's a
no
lot of things.
excuses.
There's a lot of things that could go wrong with like the dog cam. You might stumble upon something. It might not.
You don't
go
wanna
all
see.
that well.
Yeah.
It's likely.
All right,
What do you
Olivia,
got for us,
what do you
Olivia?
got in the
Alright.
bag for us? You've been
Okay.
holding on to it all episode.
I have a few, but I'm just gonna shoot from the hip here and go with just one. All right, I'm gonna say my red flag is a guy, somebody that you're with, on a date with, or interested in, starts talking about their accomplishments of their high school sports teams.
Oh,
I feel like this is a direct shot at Jack.
No, I don't know.
This might be a direct shot at
It's
Jack.
kind of ironic.
It's not direct, but that's a thing. Like someone who's still upset that their whole team lost the
8th grade championship
playoffs.
game.
Yeah,
Not
That's
I don't want to hear
ironic.
about the.
playoffs.
It's
I don't
ironic
wanna hear
that
about the
came up
double-double.
this episode because Jalen and I actually talked about accomplishments we almost had,
Or lack thereof, if you
or
will.
lack
yeah.
thereof, from
Right.
middle school, not even high school, middle school.
And then what's worse is when there's like the whole team's back together. You have at least like 3 or 4 of the dudes from high school football, and then they still talk about the same play at the same quarter with 4 minutes left. Like they could have scored that touchdown, and that could have brought them to like the second round of playoffs. You know what I mean? It's like
Oh, that's good. That's a good one. I'd like to think that I'm not in that category. I'd like to think that I'm not in that category, but I probably am. And you know what? That's what this is for. We're here to admit our flaws, accept our flaws. That might pop up. I don't even know if I can say that. But I want to know, does this happen with girls? Are girls even like, because me and Jack have this theory that like girls really don't have much hobbies. So like the high school sports, like that wasn't like interesting to them. Like they were kind of like forced to do that. And so are there any like girls like, oh, like that soccer game or whatever, like you remember that cross country meet? Like, is there any of that with girls? I don't know.
I don't know. Not really, honestly.
So I think that kind of backs up our hypothesis.
The weirdest thing about women's sports, a lot of them, like the ones that were really popular, like cross country is very popular at our high school, and they try to act like it's, or like swimming or whatever, it's like they try to act like it's a team sport, like there's some like camaraderie there, and it's like, oh, we almost won. It's like, you realize they're grouping your individual times and then dividing it. Like, either you're good or you're not. It's not a team sport. They try to make it a team so you feel like you're a part of something. But, like, the cross-country teams, like, oh, my God. The girls that are like, my PR, oh, my God, my PR. No, I've had enough. I do not care what your PR is.
Like, no. You could have, but you didn't, so let's move on.
I have that happen.
That's a good red flag.
That's a great red flag. I honestly have it happen where like I do talk about playing basketball quite a bit, and then people will be like, "Oh, like what college team did you play for?" I'm like, "College? Like you think I'm good?"
No,
like,
no,
wow,
no.
not a chance.
But the worst is when there's like a group of guys. Like
Yeah.
I'm talking like the freshman team, they're back together, we're all hanging out, and then they keep talking about like, oh my God, do you guys remember that match? Like in 2012, like I almost had that like
No, and then you get into the arguments where like it's about like one little thing that like neither people can agree on. It's like, no, it's a 3-2 count. No, it's a 2-2 count. No, it's 3-2 and it was raining. No, it's sunny out, man. What are you talking about? Like they get into the littlest details about the game, and they get upset when it doesn't match up 100%.
I know, and the memory, like I couldn't remember like a high school basketball game like that. Maybe I drew a foul or something and it led to the next thing, but guys with their sports remember everything.
Yeah, that's true. I got a couple like JV game winners in the memory bank that I'm not letting go of. I know you're hating, but yeah, no, it's tough. It's tough. I agree. And yeah, when the group, I think you've kind of built a theme here with these red flags. You were talking about the the darty jerseys, and now it seems like that this might be like one guy that you've dealt with, maybe that had a jersey, had a jersey. No, maybe not one guy, but like a recent experience, if you will, a recent experience with this guy. Maybe you incorrectly swiped on Tinder or Hinge, and then you realized, oh, the third picture, all his boys with jerseys, you met up, it just happened to be like alumni night or whatever. This very well could have happened in another world. That's all I'm saying.
No, yeah, one thing led to the next. He was posting CrossFit videos too.
Yeah, we had our fitness guy on a couple weeks ago, and yeah, we dove into the CrossFit guys. That's just, it's too much. Anything in extreme is bad, and I think even the extreme workouts, it's like take a break.
I agree.
No,
I did listen to that one.
That's a great red flag. I know, Olivia, you mentioned that you're pretty into stand-up comedy, and that you might have a routine coming at some point, like maybe in 2022. Are there aspirations to? This is your first podcast, correct?
Right. Yeah. With the stand-up comedy thing, I think it's just like have some good stories that I like would love to share with people, because I feel like that needs to be done, because I feel like I'm here to like provide and maybe entertain,
Yeah.
And the problem is I'm not the best at telling the story.
No, so I've actually, I mean, you're better than a lot of people. You're probably better than Jalen. And what I told you was, I gave you the tip was less details equals better story. Always, that's right. Always rule of thumb. Now, the problem that I see a lot of times with guys and girls telling stories is they'll start off their story and they'll be like, yeah, like Daryl, Chuck, Larry was in the car, and like, Sarah was driving, and we were going like 45 and we were heading west. And it's like, where is it going? Why? They give every little detail, like whose birthday it was. Like, no one truly cares. Like, all you want to hear is like that, like why you're telling the story. You know what I'm saying? People can just kind of get through that based on just that 20 to 30 second span of just like, boom. Now, if you got a gem, you gotta do a little bit of build up. But for most stories, you gotta just leave out a lot of details.
That's my issue too. Is I like veer off, and I'm like, but X, Y, Z, all these details, and then what gets worse is I start laughing at my own stories or my own jokes. I'll just start dying laughing, and I can't get the. I was out. Like it was last year, and I was with one of my best friends and her boyfriend, and he out of the blue goes, "So I hear you're really bad at telling stories, Olivia." And I was like, "Ouch!"
That's tough.
I guess
that's tough.
Yeah,
Well, it's been a
This
year
was the
before.
first time I've been called out for my storytelling ability, so I didn't know this, but yeah, apparently Jack thinks he's like Ernest Hemingway or something. Like it's like the greatest storyteller, but in reality, he takes about a good 15 to 20 minutes out of every episode for himself to tell a story. And so I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying they're good or bad stories, but I just
They're good.
they're usually pretty good. But I'm sure all the same stuff you're worried about, like rambling and maybe laughing at your own jokes. Like I think Jack struggles as great as a storyteller as he thinks he is. I think he
Ernest
struggles with a
Hemingway.
lot of similar
Wow, he
things.
called me Ernest Hemingway on MVP.
I was thinking of a storyteller. I don't even know that he tells stories. He writes them, but same difference, I guess.
Oh man, that is
I know,
too funny.
sometimes Jack will go on for like 20 or 30 minutes. I'm like, do you need to take a breath? Like,
No, never,
What?
never.
Do you need to take a breath?
Oh.
Generally, you're laughing the entire way throughout the duration of the entire story. But
no.
but
And my laugh gets loud.
anything else you want to say to the Novesters, Olivia? Before we sign you off here, any shout outs you want to give to the people? How did you like your first time on MVP?
That was so fun. I loved it. I love listening to your guys' podcasts. You guys crack me up. Your content lives rent free in my head. I love it. Shout out to my roommate Emily. I'm representing for our apartment here.
Trossel Square.
And to all my Reno friends, hope they listen, and my new Milwaukee friends.
Yeah, absolutely. We are. I'm gonna run the analytics after this episode, but I think we're gonna be the #1 growing podcast in Reno after this week. Our people,
I hope so.
Our people were able to match up with Olivia's people and get her on MVP. It was a hard get for us. She has a busy schedule.
Yeah, they've been asking my agent for weeks now.
Yeah, we've been just spamming. But Olivia, we thank you for coming on MVP. We appreciate you taking the time with us and sharing. Great red flag of the week as well. So, thank you.
Thank you guys.
Absolutely.
Thanks, guys.
Yep.
All right, now we got to just. Then Jalen and I will intro for like 5 minutes and outro for 5 minutes. But you're pretty much all set. How did it go? No.
Good.
We'll cut it.
How do you guys do it? I feel like I had so much to say.
It was good.
It was good. I think it was good. Your red flag of the week honestly caught me off guard. That may have been one of our better red flags.
Yeah, I was torn.
Hilarious. Because
Yeah,
Jalen and I,
good.
especially, I don't know, but I think Jalen's part of it too, especially when we get in a group of guys from high school. It's just story after story after story.
So funny because I actually had an experience with that. Like, I sat with a bunch of wrestlers who were all wrestlers in general. Like, that's a whole different field. Whole different.
Yeah, we might have to talk about the wrestling guys.
I almost asked you if there was like a sport that like you just
wrestling.
flagged the whole. It was
I
wrestling.
red flagged the whole entire high school wrestling team. Hard.
That's brutal.
They still talk about, like, that's a good red flag.
That's a great red
That's
flag.
a good red flag. My other red flag would have been like
Yeah, what are the honorable mentions?
going off of dating like Hinge and stuff, like automatic left swipe to the ones that like post gym mirror selfies.
I think we need to just rid of mirror selfies altogether. I think it's the most ridiculous thing. It just needs to stop.
It does need to stop.
So I agree. That's a hard left.
My one that I was gonna say.
I'm not even on them at all.
I'm gonna say
So I don't
that
get-
the one I was thinking about saying, but I switched it. Was the girls who changed their bid emoji on Snapchat, like with the seasons.
Oh yeah.
I'm saying
Every
that.
time,
I'm
every
talking
time
that
they get
next
a
week.
haircut or like they dye their hair, the Bitmojis change. They
Or
have
like
new
all of
outfits.
a sudden it's like Christmas time and they have like a Santa Claus hat on their bid emoji.
Oh yeah. My
fucking
favorite's that
bullshit.
cherry one.
Yeah.
Oh man,
That's bad.
I feel like I did want to say one thing and I fucked up.
What did you want to say?
Like that a bubbler in Wisconsin is not a bubbler in Reno.
What is it?
That's funny. A bubbler in Reno is like a small bong.
Okay, I
No,
mean that's
the same
also
thing
in Wisconsin.
Yeah. It doubles.
Really?
Yeah, it
bubbler's
doubles.
a water fountain.
Yeah, it is, but it
Yeah.
also is
It has a double meaning. Yeah.
Like you just use your context clues to figure out like
which one you're talking about.
which
Yeah,
one you're talking about. Like if people ask you want to go smoke out of my bubbler, you make the assumption they're talking about a small bong. If
no,
they,
someone says
Someone's
we
like-
should go hit the bubbler. Like, is it after are you mid workout or is it like on your way home in the car? Context clues would help you a lot. But yeah, we do use the term bubbler. We do use the term bubbler for both.
oh my god, that is
But
so
no, I've
funny.
talked to people from Wisconsin. And I'm like, do you guys know what a bubbler is? And they're like, yeah, drink water out of it. And I was like, what? No. We smoke out of it.
Yeah,
that has two meanings.
The time I heard about it was this girl was like, I think we were on a walk, and she was like, I'm gonna go get a sip out of the bubbler. And I was like, a sip out of the bubbler? Like, you're drinking bong water is what I'm thinking, you know? I'm like, why don't we just take a hit out of it and call it a day? Yeah.
No. So I'm guessing they say water fountain or something along those lines.
Water fountain is such a bullshit term.
To be honest, I don't understand the origins of bubbler for the drinking bubbler, but it works and I love it. I definitely call it a bubbler. So
somebody told me when I was really young, I think I was actually still in elementary school, and my older second cousin who actually got expelled from high school for smoking weed.
Are we talking about Joe Januzzi?
We are talking about Joe Januzzi.
We might have to have a Joe Januzzi episode.
We do. But anyway,
he is a legend.
Someone asked him, they're like, we were all in like a group or whatever playing something. Someone was like, why do they call it the bubbler? And he goes, because when you're super stoned, it looks like the water's bubbling. It looks like bubbles are coming out of the fountain. I actually thought for the longest time, if you got high, it would look like bubbles were coming out, but it never came to fruition.
No.
It depends on how you get it.
For a little bit of background, Jack, when we were young, we would always walk around town and we would see this guy, like, wherever we're biking to the park or whatever we're doing.
McDonald's.
We would always see this guy walking by himself, and he had like this walk. He was a little bit scary-ish. He was an older guy.
Yeah.
He was a teenager, and he looked a little bit ripped. You know what I'm saying? He looked like he could maybe fight.
Yeah, he could fight. He could fight.
We just all assumed he could fight, and he was just a guy. And Jack never failed to always say, "Yo, that's my cousin," or whatever, or whatever. He's like, "I'm related to that guy," and we're like, "Who is that guy?" He's like, "That's Joe Januzzi," and we're like, "Who's that?" And he's like, "Yeah, he got kicked out of high school," and it was just like this like allure. I've never heard the guy talk. I've never had a conversation. I don't know anything about him other than Jack's related to him, and he's badass. That's all anyone knows.
One. He could fight. Everyone around town. You thought he looked like he could fight. Everyone around town knew he could fight.
He could fight.
He could absolutely fight. And then number two was like when I would say like, "Yo, that's my cousin," I'd be like, "Yo, what up, Joe?" And he'd be like, "What up, cuzzo?" And I'd be like, "Like you guys see
was
that?"
he actually your cousin?
He was my second cousin. My second cousin.
No shit.
A couple marriages and divorces or whatever it was, but he was related to Jack, and he acknowledged Jack, and that was probably the end of Jack's like street credibility. Like all he could really go to was Joe, that badass dude that looks like he can fight. That's my cousin.
Yeah,
and he'll tell you that he's my cousin.
I would talk shit on the playground. If someone had a problem with it, it'd be like Joe Januzzi's across the street, and he will come over here.
Make me go get him.
He will beat the shit out of somebody.
It's actually
that's good street cred to have.
It was good street cred for sure.
Yeah, just have like that guy in your corner.
And he was always around town, Jalen, too. We'd run into him
every day. I'm not gonna lie. Like we'll probably like this may all get edited in. John does a really good job, but there's a couple legends in our suburb, and I would say Joe Januzzi is one of them. But he like when I think of like the Mount Rushmore, I don't know to fill the other. But if I were to throw two up there, I would throw Joe Januzzi, and I would throw. That's tough, but I'm gonna one up. Like Harley's not in this category, I don't think, in terms of like mysterious allure. Like you don't really know much about these guys, but you see them and everyone knows them. Joe Januzzi and the hockey guy, rollerblade hockey guy. So we would all be, let's say, you're walking across town at like, midnight, 2 a.m. You just had like a party at your friend's house. Now you're going back home and you're walking home. You're thinking the streets are going to be empty. This guy would come out of nowhere with rollerblades and a hockey stick, and he would just be full speed around corners, down hills, combing blocks, and everyone knows about the rollerblade hockey guy. Shouts out to the rollerblade hockey guy. He's a legend.
I do need to say, like, one time,
I think that's in the Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, my dad told me, he's like, yeah, like Joe Januzzi's your cousin, and then he also just was kind of like, you don't really want to piss that guy off. like no one really knows like what's going on, but oh man, that's don't fucking hilarious, Jalen.
He's real deal. He's generationally known. A lot of people know about Joe Januzzi.
Yeah.
We had the same kind of situation in Reno. He was like the living legend of Reno. His name was George, and he was always at all the Little League baseball games. He rode his skateboard. He had an eye patch. He had
an eye patch.
He had an eye patch,
Wow.
and he probably had like both hand or arms in a sling, and he'd skateboard. He would actually walk. He would walk his skateboard. He never really skateboarded, but
that's a badass move. Like having a skateboard but never riding it, just carrying it. Like
yeah, right.
I just think that's dope. I don't know.
It's like scarier. You know?
How do you
like,
guys
don't mess
feel?
With that guy.
So like my dad, like I was going through his closet one time and I found this badass trench coat, like really like expensive, like lavish trench coat, and I was like, "Can I have this?" And he was like, "Well, I haven't worn it in like 20 years because trench coats are out of style." And I was like, "But can I have it? I want to do like a Halloween costume." Well, I did a Halloween costume, but then, you know, all of a sudden I'm like, this is a badass trench coat. So I start wearing it out in public, you know, to college classes and shit. And the amount of looks I would get from people, because, like, you going onto a school campus in a trench coat now is like, people truly stay away from you. Like, people look at me and maybe they're like, I'm going to go down that hall because trench coat man is booking it. He's late for class. Like, I was that guy for like a couple weeks, and then people had to tell me, like, you need to stop publicly wearing a trench coat.
Stay away from elementary schools and parks.
Yeah. In my trench coat.
You're going to get looks.
I'm glad whoever told you to stop wearing that told you to stop wearing that.
It took a team. I'm pretty sure, like,
friend.
almost one day I came home and it was like a sit-down group of, like, my closest friends and family. Like, the trench coat, it stays. It has to come off. That's a joke.
I don't know why, but I picture you in a trench coat. Like, I picture you like rocking a trench coat, maybe with boots.
Is there any pictures of this?
I'm not rocking boots.
No,
we might need some pictures.
I'm absolutely not rocking boots whatsoever. Like the black, like navy boots. You know what I'm saying? Now, if you see the trench coat guy with the black boots, you know he means business. Even when I'm in my trench coat and I see the guy in another trench coat with boots on, I'm the trench coat underdog. So I'm like, hey, I don't want to fuck with that guy in the trench coat. So I need to walk down a separate hallway as well.
There's levels to trench coat wearing, and then the deepest level is when you start, like, when there's a lot of, like, kind of chains, like pocket chains hanging from the trench coat and patches. Yeah, it really goes deep. Actually, my uncle, way back in the day, he you know, of course everyone had their, you could call it like an emo or goth type phase. They, back in the day, this is a story passed down, they've told me that they were called squids. And it was the black leather trench coats, the long trench coats with the black leather boots and the long hair. Jack, I don't know. That might be a look for you. I think you might stumble into some things that you might not be ready for with that look.
No, I haven't worn it in years.
Breakfast Club.
Breakfast Club.
Yeah, that guy. Exactly, that guy. I don't know that guy's name, but we've all seen the movie.
Like, listen to grunge music. Bring it back.
Exactly.
I get why you would have to wear a trench coat in Milwaukee or Wisconsin in general, because it's cold, snowy, rainy. Perfect for the weather here.
Yeah, you need a big jacket.
You need a big jacket. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. That threw me off moving here from Reno. A lot of things threw me off moving here from Reno.
Yeah, I don't know how you can... Yeah.
That's a change of pace.
Like, sweet, yeah. I think I found something about Wisconsin. It's like, this might offend you guys, but Wisconsin, like, takes something and, like, twists it to make it their own.
Like?
How so?
Like a fish fry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Love the idea of a fish fry, but isn't it just, like, fish and chips?
Yeah.
I mean, but
And then,
it's on Fridays. It's on Fridays specifically. Fish fry Fridays.
Fish fry Friday.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah,
like,
I guess they just don't call it fish and chips. But yes, it is exactly fish and chips.
or
No,
like
because you do most of the time it's a baked
an old
potato.
fashioned.
Yeah.
An old fashioned. Old fashioned is regularly what, whiskey and
Brandy old fashions
brandy.
in Wisconsin.
I'm glad
Yeah.
you bumped into this. Old fashions in Wisconsin are very, very different because you order one in Wisconsin and they ask you, oh,
Brandy
do
or
you want brandy or whiskey or whatever, or sweet or sour, right? They ask you that. You go anywhere else and you ask for an old fashioned and they're not giving you any of that. There's no option. It's usually like a whiskey, and then they don't do the extra with either the sweet or sour mix. They just kind of skip that part, and it's a lot stiffer of a drink. I made a couple mistakes because in Wisconsin you order old fashions. I can slam old fashioned like a nice brandy sour old fashioned or even a
Sweet.
brandy, like whatever you're feeling for that evening. SoCo is a great old fashioned. I'm just gonna throw that out there for the people.
I started serving here in Milwaukee, and we were ordering old fashions, and I would just tell the bartender, "Hey, can I get some old fashions?" And they're like, "Well, what? Do they want brandy?" And I was like, "What do you mean brandy? Like, why are we putting brandy in old fashioned?" He's like, "A Wisconsin old fashioned or like a regular old fashioned?" I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
Picking it up.
You'll
And
learn.
then this might offend you guys, but I'm gonna say it because I gotta tell you guys. I told this to one of my classmates. I was like, okay, I get the cheese curds, but like that's like a spin-off of mozzarella sticks.
No. Because
Yes and no.
No.
I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say no.
The answer is no. I mean,
Because it's never mozzarella cheese. It's always a different kind of
could be different
cheese.
cheeses.
Same
And
idea, like deep fried cheese.
No.
Deep fried cheese. Yes, it is the same idea in that
I will
sense.
not have you slander cheese curds on MVP. I will not stand for it, and I most certainly will not allow it.
Yeah.
And also cheese curds. You're talking like deep fried cheese curds. Now you need to go and get some like real squeaky, like just actual cheese curds that aren't deep fried.
Yeah, I think that's where the distinction comes in. Is there is non-fried cheese curds which have no relation to mozzarella sticks then.
Yes.
But then they just take those cheese curds and fry them, and then you can somewhat put it in the same category, but I think it's in a league of its own simply because it's just it's a different cheese. It's whole different
It
cheese.
hits a little bit different.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
All right, Jay, we gotta do this intro. We got plenty. We got plenty of content.
Yeah,
you gave us honestly a lot. I think a lot of that second.
It's gonna get cut in.
It's gonna get cut in. Gonna get put in the episode.
John's really good at what he does. He's gonna cut that in. I'll be right back. Thank you, Olivia. I'll be right back.
Nice to meet you. Shout out to my Reno people.
So that was Olivia joining us. She brought some great stuff to the table. A little bit of an outside perspective. A lot of our guests have been from the Wisconsin area, so it's nice to have someone come in from Reno and tell us what they think about a lot of our culture.
Yeah, we're trying to broaden our reach. We're trying to spread the reach all over America, and yet Reno's an untapped circuit that I've been trying to tell Jack about.
We were in, I believe, as of this week, we were in 31 of the 50 states and U.S. territories,
right?
And we're also on 4 different continents. So I mean, we're breaking through so many different territories, and it's just impressive. Our reach is now. Like I said before, this is now a platform. This is not a podcast. This is a platform. This is the platform for the people.
Yeah, and we just, it's awareness. Where some things were brought up in the conversation you'll hear then, and sometimes you got to look inward and you got to accept your flaws, accept your weaknesses. And I think, me and Jack were humbled a little bit today, and I'm glad that we were because, we have this platform and people are listening, so we might feel like we can get our stuff up, but it's nice to be brought back to earth a little bit, and I think Olivia did that. What do you have to say about that, Jack?
I absolutely agree. I want to thank Olivia for coming on once again. She brought some great content. I want to thank all of the people who have came on in the show in the past, And I want to say that, if you do want to come on this show, reach out to us. Tell us what you're going to bring to the table, and we'll hear you out. We got a lot of people who want to get on, but like I said, there's only so many slots we're willing to give out. But shoot us a message, and like Jalen said before, subscribe, comment, like, keep us moving along here. So we really appreciate everyone tapping in, week out. Jalen, anything you want to say before we sign off?
No, man, just stay up out there. Keep your head on a swivel and swim at your own risk. That's all I got for the people this week.